All right, welcome back, everybody. It's time now for the Business Beat with our very own Odette van der Haar. She's got a very special guest in studio with her today, the one and only David Tlale, and they'll be chatting about not just wearing your brand, but actually living it.
Thank you, Nelly. Good morning, viewers, and good morning, David.
Good
what
morning.
a treat to have you with me in studio today.
Thank you.
I'd love to know, from your early beginnings, what made you decide to study fashion design, and how did you go from someone who just had a passion and talent into a very successful entrepreneur?
I think, it all began when I was studying to be an auditor, and I hated it with a passion.
My goodness.
Because I knew inside me there's that creative bug that lived, but I've always suppressed it. But I never knew that you could become a professional in the creative space. And when I pursued fashion, there was a lot of negativity from my family's side, from my friends and everyone else. But ultimately, I had to pursue it. I had to go study fashion. And day one, when I walked into that fashion class, I knew this was my home. And I knew this was my calling.
Fantastic.
And, seeing myself evolving through the journey from just being a wannabe designer to being a professional designer, I saw myself just like blossoming, I would say every year or every season, because I would say one collection led to another, one client led to another. It meant that I was doing something right. It was pure affirmation that this is it, and this is my pride and joy. I can never see myself doing any other thing.
It's interesting that you say that you picked up a lot of flack from family and friends, because often an inherently creative person is almost expected to become a poor artist in their lifetime, and that whatever it is that they create will only be valuable once they've passed.
Exactly.
You, however, have shown that your brand has evolved from haute couture on the runway to everyday people being able to access it, and collaborations with the likes of Avon. Talk to us about that. How's that working for you?
It's been a beautiful journey. Like you say, when I started the brand, I started with all the flamboyance. If you wanted feathers, you'd have feathers. If you wanted bells and whistles, I'll definitely give them to you. So, because we've always wanted to be seen as this high-end brand. And with time, we realized that really high-end does not really pay the bills. And you have to start applying yourself as a business person, not only as an artist. I didn't want to become a businessman, but with years and the journey, I found myself becoming much more of a business person more than just being a creative. Then I realized that there's power in mass market, and also because our community and our clientele, they believe in, I want to have it, I want to own it, and not everybody can afford a high-end or couture piece that we would make. So from those collaborations, and then now we like collaborating with Avon. Last year we collaborated with Tastic, which is like really fantastic. I was like, I realized the power of these big brands. They're gigantic. I get to tap into people's homes that I never thought I would be able to. All these people that were just hopeful one day I could own a David Tlale dress. One bride got to wear a David Tlale dress last year, which was beautiful.
Wow.
And now with Avon, it's the same story. Hundreds of thousands of people purchase Avon, not only Avon, but David Tlale X Avon, which I think is the power of collaboration. And also we understand in South Africa, our industry, our clothing industry, it's credit driven. You have to buy on account to own something. And I would say along this journey of collaboration, I have found myself, and I would say as a brand, we found our voice, what we stand for, and how do we actually relate to them bigger public, more than just like speaking to a niche market.
I think that is so important for any aspiring entrepreneur to understand that going solo can prevent you from actually growing your business.
Absolutely.
And that tapping into bigger brands makes you accessible to a bigger client base.
Absolutely.
And what you've done is super clever.
Thank you. Thank you.
And super creative, actually. I'm one of your biggest fans, as you know.
Thank you. And you're wearing one of my dresses.
I'm wearing one of yours.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is one of the first ruffles and feathers many years ago.
And what I've always wanted for you is to see you as a creative person build a business empire that is not just for a niche market.
Yeah.
We talk about buy local.
Yes.
But if the brand is too aspirational for the everyday person, how do they access it?
Yes.
You've tapped into that very cleverly from a business perspective. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. You say, buy my product, buy local, but make it accessible.
Absolutely.
You understand your target audience. You understand they buy clothing on credit. So make it available to them.
It is very important. It's very important because, you know, it's easy to get caught up in this designer gaga mode. But at the end of the day, there's bills to pay. There's jobs to create. More than anything else, I'll say to my team and some of my friends and say, guys, it's accessible because we're creating jobs.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we are all going through this hard time right now of COVID-19. As much as it's hard that we're saying for 8 weeks we didn't work or 9 weeks we didn't work and stuff like that, but it is a rude awakening for our local industry, clothing and textile, to say our retailers should not only look overseas, they need to look on a bigger scale onto local manufacturing.
Absolutely.
Going above that, I would say the biggest thing that we have right now, which is a huge celebration for designers, is to say our biggest retailers must start nurturing local designers. Because
amen to that. Amen to that.
Because, I mean, like, the amount of money that has been spent on international brands coming into our local markets, it's ginormous. Our industry, the clothing and textile, is going to be very interesting post-COVID.
I think my takeouts with you are that any aspiring young designer needs to look beyond his or her creative talent.
Yeah.
It's not enough to be creative and to know how to put a fabulous garment together.
No.
You need those basic business skills.
Yeah.
So I would then say, if you are an aspiring designer, make sure that you said you were studying auditing before, but make sure you supplement that with some kind of business course, or else have a business mentor. But then to business in South Africa, the big business, big brother, take in these young designers and mentor them whilst making their stock available. So there's something in it for everyone.
Absolutely. If you ask me today, what would I have done differently? If I look at my journey, number one, I would have stomached my 4 years of auditing. I wish I did. I wish I did, because yes, I do understand business, but I would have gone to another level. And it's very, very important. Don't go into the industry with like your eyes closed. Make sure that you intern at someone's business, find your feet, find your passion, and perfect your craft before you launch a brand. And I always say to young designers, don't think about how you're going to pay your bills tomorrow or at the end of the month. Think about 4 years from now. How will you be still standing? So it's very important to understand that this industry is not an overnight success business, or it's not an overnight success industry. It's not a drive-through. You are going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be passionate. You're going to fail. People are going to reject you. People are going to love you, and people are going to talk bad about you. Press is going to write every kind of press around you or reports around you about you and your product, let alone that other designers are also going to judge your product. So before you come into this industry, make sure that you understand why are you coming here? Why should Odette stop buying David Tlale and buy you? Why should Odette stop buying Tula Cindy and stop buying Maxhosa and buy you? What is so special about your product? What is it that you are bringing onto the table? Fashion is not only a one-sided thing. Fashion is not what you see at David Tlale. Fashion is an industry. There's pattern makers, there is fabric buyers, there's graders, there is machinists that people always look down upon. I say, as a designer without machinists, you're absolutely nothing because you cannot create that magic.
Well, that's quite interesting because what you've unpacked for me is the world of opportunity within the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So it's not just about bringing your craft to the design of a garment.
No.
It's bringing your craft to the manufacturing of the garment.
Absolutely.
All the way from the material to the finishing and fitting.
Absolutely.
There's an opportunity. If you are keen on fashion, if you do have that eye, you don't necessarily need to be the next David Tlale.
No, you don't need to.
But you can be part of the industry.
You can be part. You know, I think the biggest challenge with the current generation is that everybody wants a spotlight. And people don't believe in, some people don't believe in supporting a vision because like, why should I do it for David when I can do it myself? At the end of the day, in unity and in a team, we win more because divided, we're not going to achieve anything. It's very, very important to understand our passion and what we are called for. Yes, you may like to be the next David Tlale, but are you called for it? And do you know what it takes to become a David Tlale? People don't know those things.
Oh, yeah.
And,
they don't know the struggles.
No, they don't. So as a young designer or as a young person who wants to be part of the fashion industry, think about where do you want to fit in. You can't do it all. People still think I sit on the machine today. I don't sit on the machine. I'm the creative director of David Tlale. I'm a visionary. I come up with concepts. I come and become the face. Imagine if I'm now supposed to be sewing a garment for you, meaning the shop must be closed to come and talk to you and then go back and nobody's going to get their garments, okay? Nobody's going to get their garments.
What I hear from you is that despite the economic climate, despite people not necessarily respecting the creative industry as it should be, there is opportunity.
Absolutely.
There is opportunity to participate. There's opportunity to succeed. And most importantly, collaboration is the key to success.
You know what I like about what you say now is that we have a choice to complain as an industry or we have a choice to make something great as a unit.
Oh, wow.
And ultimately become a successful industry.
Thank you so much, David. I think what I've always loved about you is your humility and your willingness to work with other people. It's a very unselfish way of doing business. And I suspect that's probably why you're so successful, not to mention your creative talent.
Thank you.
It was absolutely wonderful chatting to you. And I'm sure the viewers have learned loads about the fashion industry, the opportunities in the industry, and that the business of fashion isn't just about wearing a fabulous garment.
Oh, honey. No, this is just a finished product.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you for having me.